Hi, everyone. Welcome back to your favorite trio of siblings. It is a Tribe Called Dhillon podcast. I'm Angie Dhillon.
And I'm Rose Dhillon.
And I'm Alvin Dhillon.
And if I can ask you to please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, follow us on our social channels, and support us and grow our family a little bit bigger, we would really appreciate that. Here we go. Win of the week. I'm cold. I got a turtleneck on. I am chewing on a vitamin C tablet right now. With zinc.
Better not be getting me get sick.
No, it's just cold here in Vancouver. So it's back to sweater season.
Yep.
What did I do? Oh, my win of the week this week is my girlfriends and I volunteered at Joe Nation. It's called Joe and the Juice, but it's called Joe Nation. We made 80 sandwiches in less than 1 hour to feed the homeless population in our community. So I'm super stoked about that.
Oh, that's
Nice.
really great.
Thank you.
Good for you.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. My win was my cousin and her husband came to visit me over the weekend, and I showed them all around the little city that I live in, and they were blown away at how cute my little new town is. And I actually discovered some really cool little spots myself, showing them around. I'm like, hey, this boardwalk goes all the way and it ties into this restaurant on this end. And there was some really cool spots. So I discovered more about my new city that I've moved into.
You are a tourist in your
I know.
own city.
Yeah.
Gems.
Yeah.
Al, over to you.
Mine's gonna be good old trusty renovations, but thank God we are taking a little break. We've reached a good milestone of quite a bit of work done. About 60%, I could say, of the renos are done. But I think me and the roommates have reached a point where we're just mentally, emotionally, physically exhausted of renos, and just hearing that word renos and just the amount of chaos it causes in your daily life and how intrusive it is. So we reached a good point and we said, you know what, Christmas is coming up soon. I was like, let's just take a break. First, we need a break at least for a month. And now it's going to take us into December. And no, we're not doing no renos in December because it's Christmas time. Yeah, I was like, no one wants to be doing that. So basically the next couple of months we'll take off. And then January, February time, we'll start it up again to get some of the carpeting, flooring done, and then kitchen. And that's pretty much one of the last big pieces. And
Cool.
it'll be good.
Good stuff. I wanted to ask you, did the person that was supposed to come and do the popcorn ceiling stuff come at all this week?
No, so he ended up showing up randomly in a day, like at 7:30. They're like, yeah, we're here to do the work. I was like, the guy has not been answering any of my calls the last 3 days. He doesn't let me know that anyone's going to be coming. The guy just showed up. I was like, it's dinner time now. So you got to come back tomorrow morning. So he came at like 10 in the next morning and he patched it. So it needed a couple days to dry. So fingers crossed he'll show up either this week at his random time whenever he shows up. Contractors, I tell you.
Gotta love those tradesmen, right?
Yeah, they just come when they want because it's a smaller job, so I get it. He doesn't want to take up a lot of his prime day, but it is what it is.
Okay. Let's go into today's topic and segment. I'm going to try and be as respectful and mindful as I can as we do this episode. But I feel it's something that with this new digital age and just with what's going on in the world and how people are approaching things, I think it's just something we have to talk about this because it's something that I was a little taken back when I received this in the mail. And maybe some of our listeners and our viewers that live in North America can connect and understand where I'm coming from with this segment and this episode and why I decided to talk about it. So I have a sign, like most people, that says no soliciting on my door. Because it drives me nuts when it's like, you don't know who's going to come to your house. And I'm silly enough where I actually go and open the door. My new one now is, if I'm not expecting anyone, I'm not opening the door.
I don't either, yeah.
Period. But I'd always find like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7, or on a Saturday, someone's knocking on my door. And then lo and behold, you open it and it's someone preaching their faith.
Okay.
Drives me nuts. Okay, so it's been a long time now that hasn't happened. I'm like, should I take down the no soliciting sign now or are we good? Because sometimes you get those salesmen that are trying to sell a vacuum to you. They still do that or something. So anyhow, this came in the mail to me.
Okay.
And one of you can read it because I didn't show you both. But when I read it, I wasn't upset by it or anything. I thought it was kind that someone took the time to write this to me. It's long, as you can both see.
Read it out.
And they paid for the postage.
Yeah. But so here's
Who does this, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this was a new way.
This just took us back 20 years.
So this was a new way of soliciting for faith. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to read the front here. It's a beautiful scenic here, as you can see. It says here, you, in brackets, Jehovah, firmly establish the mountains by your power. You are clothed with mightiness. And how do you say that? Is it Psalm 65.6? First of all, that's great because I am clothed with mightiness. So I felt that it was such a great message, but it was the stuff that came afterwards that I felt was really unnecessary and kind of tacky. And it's like, why are people still doing this?
Okay.
Right? Why are we still soliciting and trying to get people to cross over into different faiths? Like, come on, let it go. Al, would you like to read it?
Sure.
Because it looks like you're writing. Did you write this to me? Because it kind of looks like Al's writing. Like, Al, did you secretly? Did you punk me? Is this a punk? Like, just one of you punk me?
No, I don't have that kind of time.
It for me.
I don't have that kind of. You know what? You have to go to the post office to get the stamp, to get those things, to drop it. No.
Right. So someone took the time.
If it ain't coming to Amazon, I'm not doing it.
Okay. So Al, do you want to read it out? Just.
Hello, neighbor. Hope this finds you keeping well. Many have prayed for God's kingdom to come. Brackets Matthew 6:10. Have you ever wondered what God is, kingdom is, and what will do? The Bible says it is a heavenly government ruled by Christ Jesus as king. Okay. Isaiah 9:6-7. This heavenly government will put an end to all our problems, pain, and suffering, as it will bring lasting peace to people on earth. To learn more, please visit jw.org to read or listen to a special Watchtower magazine, What is God's Kingdom? Take care. Dana. I can't really see her where she spelled it, but
okay. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Donna, actually.
No.
Donna.
Well, she's just trying to sell you a product.
Right.
God, in her perspective.
Right. So I thought that was really kind that someone actually, because first of all, nobody writes anymore. Everyone is, we all email.
Yeah.
So I wasn't upset. Old Ange would have been like firecracker. Like, what are you saying? What are you coming? Like, who sent this to me? I would have been investigating which one of my neighbors was it? New Ange, I was like, okay. Was kind. There's lots of valuable information in here. They've quoted some sections of, I guess, the Bible. Really nice. So, but here's my take on this here. And I'm going to table it as, for thou shall not preach.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay. Here's my thing. There's nothing wrong with anything that's written there. I think it's personally very kind. Someone is sending me well wishes. Kind of creepy that they knew my entire address.
Yeah.
That's what I was like, how did they know my unit number, everything? Yeah. Okay. But in this day and age, everyone, where everyone has access to information about faith, spirituality, religion, culture, to learn about another culture, why are people still resorting to this? What's the reason? Is it outdated? Like, why do you feel people still feel the need to preach and try and bring someone over from another faith to another faith? Because I'll tell you right now, I'm a proud Sikh. Proud Sikh. I'm not looking to convert. I do practice and I am involved in other cultures. Like I follow some of the Buddhism. I believe in the method as kindness. But am I going to switch over and become a Buddhist? No, I don't think so. But there's so much valuable knowledge from that faith and that philosophy and that way of life. But I am in no business to go and tell people what I think they should follow, what they should or what they should do. This is their way. It's very personal. This religion and spirituality, it's like politics. Like, don't bring it up. Don't talk about it. So who has an opinion on this? What do you think about it? And should people still solicit and be doing this?
I'm totally against the soliciting. Like, you want to follow whoever you want to follow that brings you peace, joy, love. That's great. You want to, let's say, tell people, this is what I got from it. Maybe you should check it out. You can just send it out to, like you're saying, in the universe by telling people that. But unfortunately, with this special group of people, we also have them in our neighborhood, and they come every couple of weeks. They'll come in a van, maybe 3 or 4 people, and they're quite elderly, and they have very trouble getting in and out of the van themselves. And the neighborhood we have are 99% predominantly Sikh people, and they're not going to generally convert. So sometimes I watch from the window and I'll see them come out. They come to our house. We have the non-solicitor sign. I just don't open the door because I watch them on the camera. So then they end up leaving. They'll slide one of these in the door. They'll go over to different neighbors' houses. And I don't know why they pick and choose what neighbors they're going to come to. They tend to go to one neighbor's house every time, and I'll see them open the door and literally close the door back on them. And they'll just slowly walk back towards their van, come back again in 2 weeks. But one time I made the mistake of answering the door, and they kept telling us that you can be saved and you should come join us. And I don't know how it ended up happening, but I just kind of ended up saying, sorry, please don't come back here again. I'm not interested in this, but it seems to be a reoccurring thing. It's always like it's happening. So I'm totally against that. I don't go and tell people and say, hey, look, Sikhism does so much for our community. We do think you need to convert to Sikhism. Whatever brings you peace, love, and calm, that's on you. Like, I don't need to be pushing that on anybody. And by them doing that, it literally just irritates me more. And then I just tell them that I pray to the devil.
I'm going to give it from a personal perspective. Okay. So, as I'm back in the dating scene, it's been quite fascinating, but I was talking to someone and I was sending him podcasts on things to listen to make his life better. Cause he kind of mentioned some things he was struggling with. I was like, oh, here you go. Listen to this. Right. And I was sending things. As time went on, I'm sure he got irritated, but probably just didn't know how to say it to me. And then I started talking to someone else. And he started sending, he's of a fitness guy. So he was trying to level up, like wake up at 6 a.m., become a vegan, work. And I was like, oh, no, you didn't. And then I went, oh, thou shalt not preach. Okay. That was a lesson that I had to learn.
Play.
Yes. And I was like, oh my, I was getting so annoyed. I wanted him like, stop sending me this shit, dude. I'm not going to do it. But I realized that, 6 months ago, I was doing that to someone else. And so it came back and manifested in my life. And I remember thinking like, I was so turned off. Like I'm not gonna lie. I was so turned off by this guy. I was like, yeah, I'm not calling you anymore. Just because you were trying to tell me how to live my life and how to live it perfectly. Who are you? Right. So I am all for why people get frustrated with this. Because yes, I firsthand was a preacher and now I'm like, don't preach to nobody. Don't preach. Yes.
Well, especially if you'd already been told once and then the same group of people come every couple of months and you're like, why do I have to keep yelling at each one of you every time you come? And like, you get me to that point because like, you just keep ringing the doorbell. So I don't know. I just feel like they're preaching to the wrong choir. Like you got to know your audience and this area is not your audience.
But maybe just stop the preaching. This is how I see it. Like you said, the Buddhists don't preach and yet they draw the most amount of people in. The Dalai Lama is like he just up there and people are drawn to him. Satguru, same idea. People are just drawn to him. I think you don't need to preach it. I think you need to live it and show it. And then people will naturally gravitate towards you.
I do feel like there's a time and place to preach. Like when they say you need to go out and help people. Sometimes you go to the disenfranchised people, generally the homeless people. They need some form of faith. They need something to believe in. They're the ones whose souls have been broken. Go help them. Don't come to the people that are gonna like literally close the door on you right away because they follow a complete different faith. And the community you're in is 95% dominated by this type of this faith. So it's a losing battle and you're wasting your own time and energy. And when I do see the people come, I've yet to see any young people come do this. They're all in their 60s and 70s that are coming doing this.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And they come in like the wheelchair accessible van. So you see how much work it takes all of them to get in and out of the van to come get turned away in a matter of a moment and go back. I'm like, is that the best use of your time? If you really want to preach this, like maybe you should be a little more effective with it.
Right. Yeah. I know someone in the past and I do know someone that is a Jehovah's Witness. She's an older lady.
Right. Yeah.
And I've gone with her to services and I've gone with her to so many of these so-called, Easter Sundays and Passovers. She's never once ever preached to me or told me to cross over or anything like that. And when you do go to these service, it's beautiful. You can feel the love and the energy there. But I'm going there to support this individual. I don't need anyone to give me a pamphlet or try and sway me over. I'm just there, whether it was like driving this individual because they needed a ride. So I think when it comes down to it, because I do want to be mindful and sensitive as we discuss this topic, because we know that we're in a position of influence now. I feel that we have a chance to now start changing the narrative on how we approach things. And for thou shalt not preach, it's not just related to faith. I just think we're a society now that we just impose our views about everything to everyone, whether it's diet, whether it's exercise, whether it's food, whether it's dressing. Like everybody has an opinion about every single thing.
Yeah.
And I think there comes a point now where unless someone comes up to you and says, listen, I'm struggling spiritually, mentally, emotionally, can you guide me towards something that is working for you? Or someone comes up to you, call a friend, let's say, and says, hey, like my diet's not the best. Can you help me? I see that you're pretty healthy. Unless someone comes and asks for your help, I think we have to start becoming a society and being more practicing mindfulness, and just refraining from passing our constant 2 cents. Right. And I'm not going to try to throw you under the bus here with this one.
Because I did do it. It was a good lesson for me to learn. Because when I got it back, I was like, this is annoying.
Yeah. And the reason I'm saying that is because you're also guilty. Al and I have I've just created my social media account not too long ago. Alice had one, and I'm private. I don't post anything on there. But my lovely sister here feels the need to send me, like our mother does, every day 5 to 6 pieces of content.
No, not that many.
You do. Right. You do. And now it's come to the point where she's one post away from being blocked. You are one post away.
No, you said 2 a week, and I've now managed that. I've stayed to 2 a week.
And I still don't even open those 2 a week.
Yeah.
You send me. It is what it is.
And we said this on another episode that there's just, everyone is being bombarded and stimulated with so much content that it's just too much. And everything that you send me, I have access to Google as well.
No, I know what I think. I send it because I'm like, I don't think these guys go on social media much. So let me send them this link. It's usually, or I send it because I want to go back and look at it after. Like I wanted to do it, but I had a call or something. So I send it in the hopes that I won't forget that link. Because when you go through your feed, sometimes that thing is gone. So a lot of times I selfishly send you things so that I can go back in the evening and circle back at it. But I stopped doing that. Now I just press the save button on it.
You do realize now that WhatsApp has this feature where you can
send it to yourself. I've been sending everything to myself. Now Al taught me that feature. That's why I don't bug you guys anymore.
So this episode was also inspired by my sister for Thou Shall Not Preach.
I'm sorry. I'm guilty. I did it. I didn't mean to do it. It wasn't like, I think you should live your life like this. I was like, hey, this worked for me. Do you want to give it a try? But now I learned a valuable lesson because someone did it to me and it sucked and I didn't appreciate it. So yes, I won't do that anymore.
Okay.
Except for ayahuasca. It's the only thing I'm going to preach because I love me some ayahuasca. I think it was a game changer. Okay. So I'm not preaching it, but I'm just saying that was an extremely, extremely amazing tool that I used. And if someone asks me about it, I will give them my 2 cents.
True. And I think we preach blindly without knowing that we're preaching to people. And I think it's just such an automatic thing for us now that when someone is going through something, I'm learning. I'm so guilty of that too, where I always give my 2 cents as opposed to me listening to the individual and holding space for them. You taught me that to hold space because I was always so quick to, you should do this and you should do that. And I think it's probably because my mama raised me like that. And my mama still schools me. And I'm just like, oh, I don't want to hear that. So sometimes I just need someone to like listen to me and not give me any advice and just say, can you hold space for me? And so now I'm asking people now, say like, what do you need me to do? Right when they say, hey, so they'll start off the story and I'll say, okay, wait, pause, back it up. Do you need me to hold space for you? Or are you asking for my opinion at the end of this?
I do that too now. Yep. Game changer.
Because I'm terrible. Someone will start telling me their story.
Because we're fixers.
Yeah. And I start cutting off their story. I start giving my 2 cents. And it's like, they wanted me to just listen to their day or their story. So I'm guilty of that. I am going to do better with that. Al, what about you? Have you preached anything to anyone?
I think we all have. And then we realize after that, we're like, oh man, this sounds terrible. Like I hate it when someone does it to me. So why am I doing it to somebody else? So I kind of just try to keep my own 2 cents. And even when I'm about to feel like I want to send something now, I always think twice. I'm like, I don't know if this is probably, I think this person's going to get annoyed at this because I sent one like a couple of weeks. So I'm like, how about we just leave it at that right now? It is what it is. I got my knowledge out of it. It worked for me, but I know how it feels when I keep getting inundated with shares all the time from you guys, from mom. Just like, it is what it is. I just send people some love and light and say, you'll find your way. You'll get there yourself. Like, even if I try to tell people ayahuasca, like if someone asks me, I'll tell you about my 2 cents, but I'm not going to sit there and say, you should try this. Unless I see someone that's struggling and they're saying, hey, I'm dealing with like, I can't stop drinking or I can't stop doing what I'm doing. Like I need some help and I've tried all these other avenues. Then please go try this and see what it does. Because you don't know what's out there until you try it. Yeah. And I think ayahuasca is a big game changer, but it's one of those things where you will naturally get to that point. You can't force someone to go do it. If you force someone to go do that and they're not ready, you don't know what kind of experience they're going to have. I was kind of forced into it, but I was also at that same time where I needed something to help me. I just didn't have the juice left for me to go and find this and go through it. I never heard of it until Rosa told me about ayahuasca.
What I'm trying to do, I have it written down in my room and I keep staring at it every day and so that it's ingrained in my subconscious. Be the change that you want to see in the world. So back to, I don't preach anymore. I'm just, okay, if I want to see more kindness in the world, that means I've got to be more kind. If I want to see more compassion in the world, then that means I've got to become more of a compassionate person. And if I want to see love, more love in the world, it starts with me. So I'm really starting to realize that has to start with me, because I have a cousin who used to do that all the time, where she was a decade older than me. So she'd always wanted, hey, but I have more experience than you. I have more life experience than you. Let me teach you. Let me show you the ways. And I finally had that conversation with her when I said, you know what, your life was so different than how I was. You're 10 years older than me. So you lived in it. You were born in a different time. You had a different childhood. You had a different high school, college. My experience is different. I don't want to change my experience to become more like yours, because then I'm losing the essence of who Rose is and what my experience is supposed to be. So I'm really taking that into account, where I see people who are sometimes going down a dark spiral. And I'm like, that's for them to go. Because like Fufuji said, you can't find yourself until you lose yourself. So I'm realizing, let people go down their journey and do that, lose themselves, find themselves, and they'll figure this out. But we have a channel that can allow you to come and get some tips of information. Great. But if you don't want it, you just keep carrying on how you want until you figure out, like, you get sick of your own bullshit. Exactly, that line I said.
You gotta once you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's rock bottom, that person will feel it themselves. Like, even if you see them like in the gutter, you're like, I can only offer you so much help. You have to want that help, and you have to want it for yourself and go make that change.
Yes.
And I'm going to quote a quote from yours truly, the Diary of the Dhillons here. Sometimes you have to let those you love hit rock bottom before the bottom will allow you to rock.
Yeah.
Toot time, Al.
Yeah.
Toot, toot. We tooted our own horn.
I don't recall who said that one.
That's us. Diary of the Dhillons. That's
us.
So,
that's our original.
Diary of the Dhillons, whenever we do anything, and you'll see at the end of our social content, sometimes we'll say subscribe, share, and like, and it'll just have our logo. But when you see a Diary of the Dhillons quote or a message, that's an original one that we've created.
We created so many that
Well, I love sometimes when we get together and have these ideas and then we write them down and then they end up becoming quotes.
It's true, because sometimes you do have to hit rock bottom before that bottom's going to allow you to come back and rock afterwards, right? We all have to have that level of, you come to your realization and you have to humble yourself in life and say, oh, how do I pick myself back up? And that's the hardest thing.
Yep.
Now, what I want to say before we start closing this one up here, has anyone in the past or in the last, let's say 1 to 2 years, maybe after the pandemic now, approached you about a faith or had a discussion and kind of tried to get you to sway over or see their way of thinking and their culture?
Yeah, actually, this just happened to me about 6 weeks ago. I was in Bellevue. I had to go to Lumen Stadium. That was one of my accounts. And so I had gone to my hotel to check in, and I had lunch there before I went because it was an evening game. And I was sitting there and this woman was like, can I join you? And I was like, sure. And so the bartender was like, are you here with the church? And I was like, what? And he's like, there was a whole group of, I'm like, no, I'm here for work. And so she sat down and she started preaching to me about how I need to convert and how they're going to save me and all this. And I was like, check, please. And I just took my check and I walked away because I wasn't going to engage in it. But I was kind of like, I'm really good at understanding that when people are trying to send you a message or something they're struggling with, because I know that myself. So I could see that she's struggling with this and she wanted to maybe have me join her with it. But I was like, I'm not interested in this. And I was very polite to her and I just took my check and left instead of saying to her, can you just not stop? Yeah. Yeah. So that was like 6 weeks ago that happened to me.
That's interesting. But isn't it, I think that strategy or the tactic that they're doing, like, I don't know how many people they've converted that way, because when people have come at me like that in the past, that turns me off.
Me too.
I don't want to know anything that you are
too.
You put up your guard because you're like, why is this person coming at me?
Because you're telling me there's something wrong with me. I don't like that. Don't tell me there's something wrong with me.
Yeah, like,
I'm aware there is.
I'm not buying what you're selling, right? But I think there has to come that now we're in a society where everyone has access to information. If we want to go to a church, if we want to learn about another faith, we can Google it and get that information. So I think this sort of stuff, it's so outdated. It's so old now. And let's just maybe to anyone that maybe is one of our listeners or our viewers that has done this in the past, let's just be mindful and say everyone's going through something and let them find God when they're ready to find God. Because if not, I always say that God will find them.
You. Yeah.
I've my experience, the people that I've found that have tried to talk to me about religion or try to preach it, I generally know a little bit about that person and they don't even practice what they preach. They're the complete opposite. They claim that they're very spiritual and they're so religious, but yet they do bad things and do shady things and they think no one knows that. And you're like, okay, man, like I see this time and time again. The people that act the most religious and they act like they're the most spiritual are the biggest phonies.
I think you're right about that.
You can see through. You can see through people's bullshit.
I know.
You either have, and if you have it, the people that are actually spiritual have it. They're not sitting there telling you like, look at me, look how calm I am, look how much peace I have, look how happy I am. I'm like, there's nothing about you that says you're happy. It looks like you're running.
Yeah.
I got to quickly back it up. I did say that I'm a proud Sikh. So I am a proud Sikh, but am I, practicing? Practicing. Do I follow all the steps of my religion? Probably not. Do I go that often to the temple? I'm not going to lie. No, but I would like to think that I'm more a spiritual being than a religious being.
I agree. I'm the same boat as you.
Religious.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's just one giant light creator out there. Everyone had their own messengers that sent them the message in their language and that came down and had that.
And I do value religion. I do think there's a lot of benefits. And I know a lot of people who aren't able to get to themselves that level of spirituality need religion. So there's a place for it. You're right. I'm just not a preacher. I don't believe in the preaching, but I do think that there's a place for religion and there's a place for faith, and people need to belong to some kind of community. So I advocate for those. Yes.
Yeah. And whatever you gravitate towards, right? Whether it's spirituality, whether it's religion, whether it's a philosophy, a fundamental ideology, whatever it is that's going to enhance your life. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Just practice that. And don't let anyone try and sway you or push you into doing something that you don't want to do. So that's just my 2 cents and our 2 cents with this For Thou Shall Not Preach episode. So
that'll be the title, Al. Thou
sure
shall not
is.
preach.
That is actually my title here.
I like that.
And I think what we should do is just reply back to Donna or Dana and tell them about joining Sikhism and tell them about.
No, maybe we should tell her to watch our podcast.
But there's no return to sender address here. Yeah.
We'll go to the church.
Well,
But
this
she
was
did put a
inspired by
website.
you, so thank you for doing that. It was inspired by her.
Yeah, she did put a website address on here. Maybe we'll check it out afterwards. Okay, so with that said, to our listeners and our viewers, thank you for tuning into today's episode. As I mentioned earlier, we're trying to be respectful and be considerate in our approach to this conversation, but I feel like it was necessary. We needed to talk about this and stuff because I'm sure, one of you or some of you have probably encountered this in your life. And rather than getting pissed off now, let's just approach it from a different lens and just say, hey, how can we now change the narrative with this kind of stuff? So until next week, please take care of yourself. Think about your win of the week. Do something that is going to create a win of the week. And we look forward to chatting and connecting with you next week. It is a Tribe Called Dhillon podcast signing off. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
See you.